Okay.
And the next day I woke up and it was a Marine Corps recruiter on the phone. So I laughed and I thought, maybe God was joking with me. But apparently, no. The joke was, pack your bag and get out of here because it's time for you to go try something different. And that's how I ended up enlisting.
Oh, wow.
See, and Bradley, I think you and I have some similarities because I was kind of looking for a sign. See, you might remember September 11th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird day for me. I was working at the time in assisted living, and all of a sudden I see this thing on TV, and it changed everything for me. But the night prior, I had watched American Beauty. Now, you could say what you. American Beauty's reputation has not stood up well because of the reputation of Kevin Spacey, but at the time, that movie was pivotal. I mean, it basically told me I was not ready to live a life that was not so interesting as a basic consumer of American lifestyle. And I felt compelled, so I joined the military soon after watching a plane crash into the World Trade Tower. I felt I needed to be part of that something larger, and I felt like that was my calling. So I left my job. I left my Bible group that I was with. I was at the time I was a college educator for a Southern Baptist church, and I just left it all to join something that was bigger, that bigger purpose. It felt like I needed to. Did you feel that call around that time?
Yeah. So like after I received the phone call, I hung up on the recruiter.
Oh.
His name was Sergeant Brandon Crow, United States Marine Corps. I was like, nope, sorry, hang up. And I just looked up at the ceiling and I was like, God, you got to be kidding me. But then this feeling started bubbling up. It just started like, you can't. This is your way out. You said you wanted a way out. You prayed for help. You asked me for something, and this is what I'm offering you. So whenever I went down to the office and talked to the recruiter, he's asking me like, what do you want? What do you want for your life? And I didn't have the greatest life growing up. I was blessed with a mother who tried her hardest to provide for me and my sister. My grandparents really are the glue that held me into being a successful human and made sure I went to church, made sure I got my homework done, made, all these things. And so whenever the recruiter started asking me questions about, well, what do you want for your life? I started thinking, well, I want to be in a place where I'm not alone anymore. So he's talking about brotherhood. And then he's talking about, he did bring up 9/11 because it was right before the Iraq War began, and so we were in a weird place between 9/11 and the war in Iraq kicking off, and so I remember that morning exactly how it happened, and I began to swell with pride, thinking I can be a part of this group of people, this group of humans that's going to go and figure out, or fix what happened to us that day. And it was just like this pride that I couldn't shake. It was just I want to be a part of that.
So you're still in now?
No, I retired. I was medically retired in September of 2017. I served in 14 and a half years.
So, okay, you've decided to join. You are at MEPS. You're sworn in. And you're sent to San Diego boot camp?
Yeah. Well,
gosh. What was that like?
So, yeah, I was sworn in on Friday before spring break in 2003.
Oh.
And then on Wednesday of my spring break, which was March 14th-ish, somewhere around there, we invaded Iraq. And I watched it happen on TV. And I hadn't picked a job yet, but I was already sworn in. So whenever I saw that happen, after spring break ended that Monday, I went to class, and straight from class, I went to the recruiter's office, and I said, I want to be infantry. Because I had scored an 89 or 79 on the ASVAB. And so, I went in an open contract because I didn't know what I wanted. But then whenever I saw that on TV, I was like, that's what I want to do. And I wasn't scheduled to leave until October. So I went to work after I left the recruiter's office, and he called me while I was at work about 2 hours later and said, you want to leave early? I said, how early? He said, tonight.
Oh
you go to the hotel tonight, you ship out tomorrow.
Wow.
And so I said, I'm in. Well, first I called my dad, and I asked my dad, and he said, do it. It's what you want. It's what you deserve. You need to do this to make your life better. And so I did it. I quit my job right there on the spot. I drove back, quit school. On the way home from that, I called my mom and told her that I joined the Marine Corps because I didn't even tell her yet. And then she came home from work, and she was, in tears. She called a few friends. My wife, who was just a friend at the time, she even came over that night and said goodbye. And then it was the next morning I was gone to San Diego. And that was kind of how my story began with the Marine Corps.
So what made you join that part of the military, that branch?
Oh, they got the best uniforms. They
got the best commercials, honey. They really do. It almost made me go
dragons.
That way.
And you, of course, went the Army
dragon in our dress boots. Yeah.
So
no, I don't know. I never thought about any other branch.
Okay.
He called me, and I figured since he called me, I'll go ahead and sign up with him.
All right.
So you get to boot camp. They do the processing, and at what point are you thinking, "Holy crap! What did I do to my life?"
As soon as the drill instructor walked into the airport where we were at the.
Oh,
so once you get off the airplane, they hold you at the airport at the USO. And
Okay.
so the drill instructor got off the bus, walked into the USO, and it was like, get out now. And, all of a sudden you're just running for your life and trying to listen to this guy with this weird hat on his head. And he's screaming at the top of his lungs and chaos. Then your head's between your legs. The whole way they drive around. We go from the airport to the depot, to the recruit depot where we train. And it was, that whole first night, because you don't sleep for about 24 hours or so. From the time you ship out to MEPS, they don't let you sleep until the next night. So you're up all night doing all your paperwork and everything. And I just remember, they didn't even have my paperwork with me. So I could have left, and they never would even known that I didn't, that I didn't even show up. Because they didn't, MEPS
Free trip.
was in my folder. Exactly. And I was like, oh, is that a sign I'm not supposed to be here? And I started questioning a little bit, but then I just felt like, you know what? This, I'm here, so I'm going to do this. I've never quit anything in my life, and I'm not going to start now. But that first night is just really eye-opening. It is a kick in the chest.
So were you able to ever talk to any friends or family that may have been in the military to get an idea of what it'd be like? So the day after I swore in to the Marine Corps, I went to go talk to my grandpa. So my grandpa was a retired Air Force, and he was in Vietnam, and he was so proud of me, but it was so strange because he didn't want he wouldn't let his children join the military. So my father never had an opportunity you know, I mean, sure, he's an adult, he can make his own decisions, but you know, he listened to his father, and he didn't join the military even though he wanted to. And so whenever I joined, it was kind of like a real shock, I think. But he was real supportive, and he tried to tell me, hey, it's gonna be difficult, it's gonna be tough. But that's about all that, and then Full Metal Jacket.
Oh my
is
gosh.
the only other.
Okay.
It's the only other thing I saw before boot camp to kind of get me ready. And of course, that movie it's a movie.
It's a movie, yes.
So
that's a terrifying experience. Actually, I watched Platoon right before I went to basic training, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, am I doing the right thing here?
I saw Full Metal Jacket as a child, and I think I'm scarred. Yeah.
Yeah. One year at the Marine Corps birthday ball, the man who plays the gunnery sergeant, the drill instructor, he actually was our guest speaker for our ball that year, and I got to meet him and take a picture with him. And Arlie Ermy.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
You have some experience as a drill instructor yourself, which we'll get to in just a few moments. But what I'm curious is, now you're out of your infantry training, which for the Marines is very much just the basic training and some added on stuff, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
So in the Marine Corps, if you're infantry, what happens? Well, in the Marine Corps, every Marine goes to basic training, and then they go to infantry training. Every Marine does.
Okay.
But if you're infantry, you go to the School of Infantry, and you are there for another 3 months, roughly. And so everybody else's infantry training is, I think, around 6 to 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But you're there for 3 months doing your infantry training, and it is basic infantry training. So you're becoming a basic infantryman, or a basic mortarman, a basic rifleman, or a basic machine gunner.
Okay.
So you're not doing anything crazy advanced, but you're still there for quite a time.
Now I'm looking at your timeline, and I was OIF 1 out there with General Sanchez and stuff like that, and I don't know if you were OIF 1 or on the front end of OIF 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was OIF 2. All my senior Marines were there in the initial invasion in OIF 1. Actually, my Marines were there, and they helped take down the Saddam statue. They were attached to the tanks that took down the statue. And so those were my senior Marines that whenever I checked in after they got home. And so we deployed again, or we deployed in December to Okinawa for a couple of months. And then from Okinawa, we deployed to Iraq until July of that year. And so that was 2004. So that was OIF 2.
Okay. Now you were a lower enlisted at this point, and that's for the people who don't know. Just so the people who have no Army background or military background. First, OIF means Operation Iraqi Freedom, and when we talk about OIF 1 and OIF 2, they were basically talking about the series of deployments. The first deployment, OIF 1, was known to be about a year's long for most people that were in that group. And it was from the time that we basically invaded, well, it was a little bit before that, to the time where we started handing off things to other branches, like Camp Anaconda became Balad Air Force Base. Those sorts of transitions began to occur. So when I was leaving, you were coming in, and I'll tell you, from my experience, we were still being mortared almost nonstop. We were still taking craps in buckets that we'd sometimes burn. The toilets hadn't all kind of come in yet. The living conditions were atrocious, but we got through it.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about what your initial Iraq experience was like as a lower enlisted, because I was also a lower enlisted during that first early OIF 1, 2. I was burning the poop.